Hey Homeschool World, my name's Connie Merritt and I'd like to welcome you to the Home Educator's Workroom. Today we're going to discuss elementary curriculum. It's going to be like Christmas in here. We're going to have us a ball. Please like, share, and subscribe and make any comments that you would like to make that are going to be helpful to the homeschool community as far as curriculum's concerned. Anything you can do to get this out there. If you've got a friend who is considering homeschool, I'd like for you very much to invite them to participate in my video channel. The lists that I'm getting ready to give you are going to be long. This is going to be a long video. And I'm going to put the descriptions below, so please don't feel like you're missing something and have to keep going back and forth. Everything that I'm going to list for you is going to be in that description. And remember, these are suggestions. I did not participate in consuming purchase curriculum every single year for every single topic. And so some of the things I've done and have practical experience with, other things I've had to talk to other folks about, but these are suggestions. So consider it a jumping off point. Consider it something that you can go, okay, well, Connie suggested this one, but I like this one better. It's okay. I'm not going to get offended by it. It's what works for you and what you like better, but I'm just going to kind of give you the overview of what we did. So, pre-K through K, we talked about that a little earlier on another video. And the pre-K through K, I recommend the BrainQuest series. BrainQuest is fairly cheap. They've got these fan card decks that you can use that are age specific and grade specific, but they can also be topic specific. And then they've got workbooks that you can use. My mom got me hooked on these when my daughter was fairly young. And you don't have to have them. They're not necessary. You can do tons of free stuff at home. But like I mentioned in the earlier video, having a little something where your son or daughter can do some practice with eye-hand coordination, practicing writing, practicing the skills necessary to maybe match colors, match shapes, and to follow directions. Doing something with that. Doesn't have to be, a long, arduous process, but it certainly does need to be something that is investigated. When you get into learning how to write, I used 2 different curriculum, and I had started off trying to do it on my own. It wasn't working the way I wanted it to, and it was just a practice of frustration for my daughter. And so we went with Handwriting Without Tears, and you can buy just the workbooks with that and the actual sheets that they sell. They sell specific kind of notebook paper that works with their curriculum ideas. The other thing that we used is something called Caloaerobics. And Caloaerobics was developed to help people who had had strokes learn how to write again and write legibly. And we used it's with music, where they would play music for a certain period of time and you would practice doing certain shapes with that music in time. The music matches kind of the shape, if you will. And it will last quite a while. It's something that we used quite frequently with my daughter in the first 2 or 3 years that we were working with homeschool. And she enjoyed it. She loved doing Caloaerobics, and I used that as kind of the beginning of our handwriting lessons for that day. And it would kind of calm her down and get her focused on what she needed to do. And then we would use the Handwriting Without Tears. So that I would recommend for pre-K through K, something to kind of get them going with learning how to write. And then using just these itty-bitty tiny books. I saw some yesterday at the dollar store. Just getting these books where they can practice doing what they need to do in order to write and write effectively so it can be legible. Then we've got the idea of resources. Where do you find these resources? And I keep telling you places like the Dollar Tree, the BrainQuest books I found at Barnes & Noble. But there are places where you can find these curriculum ideas more readily and online. RainbowResources.com is a place that I would recommend wholeheartedly. It's got everything. You can get secular curriculum, Christian curriculum, you name it, it's there. Art, science, math, geography, history, it's all there, even languages. And I would say that, if you want to consider a language for your young learner, they're little sponges right now. A foreign language might be something that you would want to look into. But it's great in its descriptions, so you can go through, click on something, and read about it. The people there have really taken the time to give some good, solid critique of what that curriculum is about. Then a local place for us, but a place that will work with you and send you stuff, is called Gullian's Christian Supply and Homeschool Headquarters. If you go online, it's gullians.com. They sell new and used curriculum. There is a good abundance of Christian-based curriculum there, but they also have secular curriculum available as well, and it has been well studied by these ladies, and that they are offering things that are going to be useful and are going to stand the test of time. So they are a great resource just to pick up the phone and call if you want to talk to somebody about a curriculum that you're considering. They will be able to help you. They are just very supportive, and I can't say enough about Gullians. They are just fantastic. But they can check the availability of a new or a used curriculum for you, tell you what they have on hand, and box it up, and they'll take your card and you can have it in just a few days. Another resource online is thriftbooks.com. Type in homeschool or the title of the book that you're interested in, and they've got used books that come up. If you want to read about homeschool techniques, if you want to find books that your son or daughter might need to use in school, Thrift Books, I can say, is wonderful, and that you can put a wish list together. So let's say they're out of a book that you're interested in. You put it on your wish list, and if it comes in, you're going to, see that that's available now. And they get stuff that, rotates through quite frequently, but the prices are wonderful. So let's dig into the full idea of elementary. Elementary curriculum, there are tons of things that you can choose to use and choose not to use. Your son or daughter, in studying how they learn, it's important that you do that so that you can grasp what they're going to really be able to use in terms of a curriculum. We had some tears around this house. I had some tears around this house and dumped some things in elementary because it just was not worth the tears to go through that. First book that I would recommend that you grab is called the What Your Blank Grader Needs to Know. And so you can fill in. They've got what your preschooler needs to know, what your first grader, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grader needs to know. And they're all separate books. And it's by a gentleman, his name is Hirsch Jr. He has written a ton of these, and they've updated them so that you get more things that are current, and discussions about technology and that kind of thing will take place in there. But he does great things. This is just a one-stop shop for samples of poetry, literature. Learning about literature happens within that. Visual arts, world and American history and geography, math, and science. So it just gives you these little tidbits all through of what every child at a certain age really kind of needs to know. I used it supplementally. It helped, we didn't go through it every single day, but I used it when I wanted to discuss poetry with my daughter. I would show her some of the poems, and we would discuss those poems. We would look through some of the stories that were taking place that he would share. Now, he may not put a full book in there. This book is maybe about like that. But he might put an example from the book in there that you can read with your son or daughter. And so it's used for more of a guide for me as opposed to an actual curriculum. And, it can be supplemental. So just something to consider once again, what your blank grader needs to know, grades pre-K through sixth grade. Explode the Code is a phonics curriculum that we used. It teaches skills that are necessary for reading words, phrases, sentences, and ultimately learning how to read stories. And Explode the Code's been around for a long time. They've got a ton of workbooks with this. And I would recommend seeing if you can find maybe one or two of them to purchase. See how it works with you. And that way you're not into it for the whole package. You don't have to buy the whole package. Then there is Worldly Wise 3000. And you couple that with Explode the Code, that's vocabulary instruction, and it teaches and widens your students' vocabulary. Those two together work beautifully. You would do Explode the Code first, and then once you get through Explode the Code, Worldly Wise 3000 would come into play. The next area that talking about spelling Spelling City is an online resource that you could use. You end up putting in either your own vocabulary, the words that you want your son or daughter to learn how to spell and learn the definitions for, or you can use their word lists. It has a free component and it also has a subscription component. So I would recommend going on and doing the free component, seeing if it works for you. It teaches through games, and you can put in just pretty much anything that you want to in there as far as a word list is concerned. So if you're wanting to do something with your young learner in regards to some words that you're learning in history or some words you're learning in science, you can put those in and put the definitions that you want them to learn in there. So once again, Spelling City. And Spelling City is pretty cool in one other way, is that they give you a test at the end. You can choose to test whenever you feel ready to, and you can get these certificates. And if you feel so inclined to print them off, the certificates were kind of a motivator, I think, in our house for a little while. So for the young learner, those certificates might be pretty cool. You go and show grandma and grandpa in a video chat, look what I did today. So once again, Spelling City, we really enjoyed that one. Another thing is sight words. Sight words, we use sight word cards, but I'm noticing that there are sight word workbooks that you can use. And those sight words are words that don't necessarily follow all the rules. And we know in the English language, we've got a ton of those. So using sight word cards, we played some games with the sight word cards where she had to tell me the words. We called it was the sight word train. It was a game that was listed on the back of a card, the card container. And we played that. She loved that game. It got her down on the floor. We were able to take the words that maybe I could recognize that she was not getting, and I could set them aside, make a different train, including the words that she wasn't getting, so that she would start having that habit of seeing that word over and over again and learning that word. So once again, sight word cards or sight word workbooks. An age-appropriate dictionary. You could give them the dictionary that they would see in the resource area of the library, and that's not going to spark much of anything for an elementary kid. But you get an age-appropriate dictionary. My daughter's grandparents gave her Merriam-Webster's. It's basically a kid's dictionary. Had pictures in it. Then tons of little books to read. Little simple books. Things that are age-appropriate and reader age-appropriate. So you don't want to get these chapter books before they've even learned how to read some simple sentences and some simple books. We love, obviously, Dr. Seuss is a great supplier of reading resources for many, but these simple little card books that you can get that might have like one sentence or a 3-word sentence on each page of the card book. Take a look at those. Having an ample supply of those, you can get those at the library, but you can also get them fairly cheap at most, like I said, dollar store. Dollar store is a wonderful resource. So let's move on. The next place that I would recommend you going to is taking a look at the Critical Thinking Company. Critical Thinking Company is just award-winning, a fantastic resource. And when I asked my daughter a few days ago, what was some of the curriculum that you enjoyed using the most, the first thing that she said, you remember that language arts book that we used? And it's called Language Smarts. And it's by Critical Thinking Company. It includes in this book reading, writing, grammar, punctuation, critical thinking skills. And it's a series that runs 1st through 4th grade. I had to put the brakes on when we used this resource. She wanted to consume the book almost immediately. Beautiful colors. Everything is sectioned very nicely so that you can kind of use a couple of the pages, like if they're talking about specific consonants and how they pair together and what they sound like. And they may do that for a couple of pages. You may say, okay, we're just going to do 1 page of that today. And that way you've got a little bit more to do. You're not trying to do it all in one day, and then you don't have anything to review with. But it's a wonderful resource. I cannot say enough good things about Language Smarts and Critical Thinking Company. Another book that you can get through Critical Thinking Company is called Word Roots. And Word Roots teaches the prefix, suffix, and the roots of words. And it helps you kind of decode how to pronounce things and decode how the definitions work. So if you understand what the prefix is, you might understand what the actual root is, and the prefix together are telling you. And it will help with reading and being able to understand if you can't get to a dictionary. Say you're in a car and you didn't bring your Merriam-Webster and you didn't want to look it up on a phone or anything. Being able to use Latin and Greek prefixes, suffixes, and roots, and being able to work all of that out, it also helps in this testing that has to take place at the end of the year or the beginning, depending on when you do it. But doing that kind of thing with understanding those prefixes, roots, and suffixes is going to help on that testing, because there's going to be a series that shows up where they say, what does this word mean? And they give you so many options. If your son or daughter understands the word prefixes, suffixes, and roots, then they're going to be able to go through and decode what that word means and have better success on their testing. Another area that we used was Math Analogies. Great book series. There's maybe about 3 or 4 of them through Critical Thinking Company. And it helps to understand analogies and work on the ability to reason analogically. That it improves, basically, it just improves problem solving skills. And Critical Thinking Company has other worthwhile curriculum to use, tons of things about critical thinking, but they also cover math and science. Some literature and history are included in there, but a good chunk of it would be really great for just doing your language arts studies. They've got things where one series called Editor-in-Chief, where you go through and you have to find the mistakes in a paragraph. And, that in and of itself, if a child can understand and look at a paragraph and determine what's right and what's wrong with it, then they're going to become better writers in that process. So it teaches them a little bit of the writing. Okay. This is the big one, and the one that tons of people have a problem with. Early on, the only thing that we purchased and knew that we were going to purchase as a full curriculum was our math curriculum. And I'm going to tell you, if you have not been to a home educators conference or convention, you need to at least go and take in the book sale area if there's one available. You will have people who sell curriculum like crazy, and the math one that I fell in love with was Math UC, and they taught a lesson right there in front of you. And my daughter at the age of 4 blew my mind and was able to, off of one simple little lesson, answer a trigonometry question. She'd never had any solid math. I mean, she understood 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but she had not. But the way that they taught it helped her to see the direction and what the answer might be. That sold me. I'm sure it would sell you. But anyway, Math UC, we used it all the way up through trigonometry. We decided to go with Khan Academy for calculus. And I would say Math UC is very systematic in their approach. You learn one thing and then you move and build on the other thing, and you build on that, you build on that. They use manipulatives, they use overlays, and the overlays for fractions, as far as I'm concerned, are genius. Every single school system on the planet needs to teach it that way. It made perfect sense to me. It did not make sense when I was in school, but it made sense through Math UC. So Math UC, another outstanding curriculum is Saxon Math. That was one that we considered, but I could not teach from it. It did not make sense to me in the way that I like to teach. Singapore Math, Teaching Textbooks, Life of Fred, Horizons Math, Khan Academy, Video Text, and Math Mammoth, all of which have come highly recommended. Tons of homeschoolers use them, and it's going to take some time for you to sit down and figure out what would work best for you and your home. These can be purchased used. They often will have a CD with them, so you've got somebody who's actually imparting the lesson. So you can use both that and you helping your son or daughter through the concepts that are being taught. I will tell you that the wonderful thing that I liked about Math UC, beyond the manipulatives and the overlay, was the fact that he really started imparting the idea of algebra way early, like in elementary school, as opposed to suddenly you just have to understand that you're solving for the unknown. I would recommend finding math courses that include a built-in review system instead of just doing the lesson and then by the time you get to the end of maybe that section's coursework, you're expected to retrieve a bit of information that you only dealt with like a month ago. So I would recommend finding something that has some sort of review system built in. Some students can work on their own. Others, we're going to need a parent-driven kind of approach. So make sure that you can do that. Some of these curriculum offer a live component, so you can purchase the subscription to participate in a live lesson where your son or daughter would be doing like a Zoom lesson, be able to ask questions and do that kind of thing. Moving on to science, there's a company called Brain Builders, and Brain Builders is a company that kind of focuses on Dr. J. Weil's curriculum that he has written. And I'm going to tell you, Dr. J. Weil is a genius. That man has such great curriculum, and the one that everybody is talking about in homeschool world right now is called Science and History Series. And you get a little bit of history and science all combined together. He's approaching science chronologically. So we're starting at the beginning of time and going all the way through more recent stuff. And I believe it's about a 5 to 6 book series that he's got. It teaches from a Christian worldview, but it's not constantly focusing on that in every lesson. So just understand that. The other elementary options would be Real Science for Kids. It is a non-Christian based one. It's very much hands-on and teacher-led. In looking through the curriculum, it's one that we were considering simply because my mom looked at it and it was just easily consumed. The concepts were very well put out for the elementary mind and very colorful, and something that just really sparked interest. My daughter looked through it when we were at convention and really thought that was great. We ended up landing with this third one, Apologia. It's Exploring Creation series. And within the Exploring Creation series, they've got astronomy, botany, human anatomy and physiology, chemistry and physics, earth science, and then zoology. Zoology is divided into 3 different books. And so that could take, a better part of 3 years to be able to consume all that. But you don't have to do all of that. You can choose which ones you want to do and use for science. Apology has been around for a while. They have some experiments in them, but it's one of those where we ended up reading, and then if we did a lot with the zoology, if we wanted to go out and take a look and see what bugs we could find within the lesson, then we went out and tried to find the bugs that we had talked about. The other one that we really enjoyed, and we used it in middle school, but they have got an elementary component, and this one is just insanely good. It's called Exploration Education, and it's a boxed curriculum. It's got everything you need. It's hands-on, you build things. And so for folks that enjoy the building and creating of things, this is the one to grab. All of these that I've mentioned up to this point, if you have a home educators conference that you can go to, sometimes you will get a little bit of a reduction in price because it's at convention. But you get to talk sometimes to these people. The folks who wrote these books are often standing there. People who have really been dealing with these curriculum are right there. Now, they are trying to sell you the whole thing, make no mistake, but it's worthwhile. I got to talk to Dr. Weil, and he is a hoot. And just enjoyed seeing that he is smart without being cocky about it. He is totally approachable. And within the science concept for him, he enjoys answering questions that the students put out. So when you purchase one of Dr. Weil's curriculum, you get access to him. My daughter, on a couple of occasions when we got into some of his high school science, had some questions. She sent him an email, and he got back to her within a couple of hours. And at convention, he said if he could just sit and answer kids' questions all day long, he enjoys it that much. So these curriculum that I'm discussing as far as science is concerned, there's a lot. The gentleman for Exploration Education is a former public school science teacher. I was able to get up with him when we were having a couple of questions that we needed some response to. He lives in California, or at least did at the time, and was great to talk to him on the phone. So the next area of the core courses would be history. Now, I'm going to tell you, for history, we did the library a lot. I developed my own history curriculum, and we did it through timelines. We did books. We did field trips. We did period cooking, or cooking for certain regions. We did crafts and videos. Don't discount YouTube for your homeschool life. Just pre-watch the videos. Sometimes there's some content in there that for certain areas might be questionable for young eyes. So you want to take a look at those before you put them out there. So I talked to a few of my friends that are homeschoolers or have completed their homeschool journey, and a couple of the ones that they recommended as being really great. First one would be Knotgrass, the elementary history component. You get a lot for everything with Knotgrass. Knotgrass is usually a combination of history and literature, language arts. So with that, you get the literature and creative writing within the Knotgrass history curriculum, and there's also a Bible study component within that. So something to consider with Knotgrass, and to realize that you can pick and choose what you do. When we used Knotgrass later in the grades, we didn't do every single thing that they said to do. And with all curriculum, that's your choice. That's what you get to decide, is how much you're going to say or do, how you're going to do the grades. Often these curriculum give you some concept of how they expect you to average the grades. You can make that choice. You don't have to do everything that they say to do. You can add to it. You can subtract from it. And I highly encourage you to give yourself that permission to do that. The other history curriculum that was recommended was Story of the World by Susan Wise Bauer. And I've looked through that. That one I think is an excellent one as well. It's not one that we used. And like I said, I felt comfortable doing history. We used our genealogy, our family genealogy, to help kind of spark some interest in the history that we were dealing with. And, you might consider doing that as well, doing a little bit of research. There are plenty of books out there with genealogy that you can write your own family history. And it teaches you how to do that. Plenty of resources at our library. We have free access to genealogy online resources, so you can look up and find things for your family. So different way of considering history, but something very worthwhile. The other things that we used is a series called Who Is. It's the Who Is series, and it's by Who HQ. And the Who Is series, you name it, they've probably got a book about them. And the books don't go about that far. It's a fairly quick read. You can read it to your young reader when they get a little bit further down in elementary school. They can read it for themselves, but they have got, you name it. They've got presidents where you're reading about like Ronald Reagan, or reading about Teddy Roosevelt. You've also got artists, musicians, sports figures, scientists. They just have a ton of these little books, and my daughter loved them. And it became a thing where we'd go to the store and say, there's the series of Who Is. Let's pick you out 2 books. And she enjoyed reading all sorts of different ideas about what these people did, who they were, their point in history. And I like I said, can't say enough about the Who Is series. They are great and easily consumed, and most kids will enjoy them. Then in elementary school, the games. The ones that we would recommend here that we enjoyed, Bananagrams. Bananagrams we kind of considered a precursor to Scrabble, although we tried Scrabble to begin with. Bananagrams helps to teach some of the concepts of how to play Scrabble. Helps with vocabulary, helps with spelling. It's just a wonderful game to play with the family, and something that we had a great deal of fun with. Connect 4, my daughter recommended. It's a strategy game, but something that most folks have played some point in their life, and so I would recommend Connect 4 as well. Operation. She enjoyed playing Operation. It teaches the fine motor skills of being able to pick up that body part. But as far as science is concerned, you're not going to see great science taking place, but you can say, okay, look where we got that from. Let's go see what else is in that area on the human body, or what bone this is referencing. And so Operation can be one of those things where you're actually learning the fine motor skills, but also learning something about the parts of the body. Trivia games, we use the BrainQuest cards that I mentioned earlier. Those BrainQuest cards worked great. My daughter wanted to play the big people game of Trivia Pursuit, and Trivial Pursuit is wonderful, but those questions were way over her head, so we just used the BrainQuest cards. And then they do have a game of BrainQuest that you can purchase and play with your son or daughter that has these questions. And being able to practice the art of recall and filing things away for later use, that's an important skill, and those trivia games and BrainQuest cards and such are all excellent in that capacity. Then we came up with the game Trouble, and Trouble teaches a lot of waiting your turn, maybe the skill of anticipating how many places you need to count in order to get to your proper place. Games teach wonderful things for kids. And then we get music, these special interest things. You can use them all through your curriculum, the arts and crafts, the music. In history, I encouraged my daughter to listen to certain time periods of music while she was studying. And that worked nicely. She enjoyed that. To this day, she still will pull out classical and jazz to just listen to. And I think in order to teach the love of something, you've got to start earlier instead of just, expecting them to just pick up on it when they get to high school. Classical music can be consumed very early and be enjoyed. And I would often encourage her to draw to certain pieces of music and to use that music to do an image or a feeling or a color or something to that degree. Little kids enjoy that. Big kids enjoy it too. So that's kind of my pulled together elementary curriculum idea. Take the time to get to know your son or daughter. Take the time right now with elementary to realize that you're going to watch some incredible light bulbs go off, that you're going to watch some blooming and growing, that it's just going to be incredible. Enjoy it. And realize that you're doing them a great service by doing homeschool with them, that you're going to get to be with them and watch those things instead of watching it show up on a report card later on, that you get to watch it happen live and in person. So hope you have a good day. Please like and subscribe. Share this with other people so that maybe we can get some more folks on here, and put some comments down. Anything that you have found, if you've already been doing homeschool for a bit and you came across this video, put down some of the curriculum that maybe you've used, and let's start some discussions, because I think we all can help each other in this homeschool community. Take care. We'll see you on the next video.